Now, what's the deal with Abraham taking a new wife and keeping concubines? Now, look, here's what we're looking into. Genesis 23, 24, and 25. Now, Abraham took steps to make sure that his son Isaac received the blessings of God's covenant. When Isaac was young, Abraham sent a slave woman, Hagar, and their son, Hagar and Abraham's son, Ishmael, packing. Now, when Isaac was older, Abraham sent away the sons that he had with another wife and through his concubines. It wouldn't cause problems for Isaac. Now, Abraham made sure that Isaac didn't marry a Canaanite wife, that he married within his bloodline, and that he would continue living in Canaan after he married. Because God had promised to give the land of Canaan to Abraham's family. One big problem, Abraham didn't own the land, except for the cave where his wife Sarah was buried. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We'll start in Genesis 23, 1 and 2. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Now, Sarah was one of the matriarchs of Israel, and the Hittites, recognizing Abraham's status as a noble leader, they agreed to his request to bury Sarah in Canaan. Now, Abraham proposed to buy a cave from a man named Ephron, who offered to simply give the land to Abraham due to his respect for him. But, Abraham, he insisted on paying, so they ultimately settled on a price. Now, Abraham laid his beloved Sarah to rest in the cave, Machpelah. This act of burying her in the promised land, it's pretty darn important. It wasn't just about saying goodbye. It was a powerful statement, claiming the land for their descendants. So with Sarah's burial, Abraham was not only honoring her, but laying the groundwork for their family's future in Canaan. Now, in Genesis 24, we're going to talk about old Abraham. After many years of life's ups and downs, he knows his time is drawing near. He's drawing uneasy because there's one more task to finish. And it's all about making sure his son Isaac finds a perfect wife. So Abraham calls on his most trusted servant and gives him marching orders. He's charged with finding this perfect wife. She can't be a low Canaanite. She must be from their bloodline. And this chosen bride must be ready to embark on a journey to join them in Canaan. Now, with that, the servant accepts the challenge. He loads up several camels with gifts, and off he goes. Now, as he lives in Nahor, he stops to water his camels, and he prays to God for guidance, to help him identify this right woman. And lo and behold, just as he finishes his prayers, in walks Rebekah. Now, you might recall Rebekah mentioned at the very end of chapter 22. She's the granddaughter of Abraham's brother. Not a Canaanite. Check. Now, when the servant asks her for a drink, she doesn't hesitate. And not only does she provide him with water, but she fills the troughs for his camels. And he presents her with gold jewelry, asking her who she is. Now, once she reveals her family ties, hey, bloodline, check number 2. Now, while the servant praises God for leading him to Rebekah, she rushes home and shares the exciting news with her family. Nahor's family, they're all knocked out by all the gifts, and they eagerly support her journey to Canaan to wed Isaac. So the next morning, it's time to make a decision. I'm reading now from Genesis 24, 57, and 58. Then they said, let's call the young woman and ask her about it. So they called Rebekah, and they asked her, will you go with this man? I will go, she said. Now, Rebekah didn't hesitate. She's ready to move to Canaan and to marry Isaac. Okay. Check number 3. Bingo, we have a winner. Then with blessings from her family, she sets off to Canaan. So what's Isaac up to? He's out in the fields, deep in thought, when he gazes up and he spots camels approaching. Now, spotting Isaac, Rebekah quickly veils herself, showing her modesty and grace. The servant can't wait to share the incredible news. Like that. Isaac meets Rebekah, and it's literally love at first sight. They're both filled with excitement and hope. It's a beautiful tale of faith and destiny, 2 hearts brought together through trust and divine guidance. Now, we find ourselves in Genesis 25:1. Abraham had taken another wife whose name was Keturah. She bears him many more children. Reading now Genesis 25, 5 through 8. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac, but while he was still living, and he gave gifts to his sons of his concubines, and he sent them away from his son Isaac. Abraham lived 175 years, and then Abraham breathed his last, and he died of a good old age. So Isaac and Ishmael, well, they buried him with Sarah in the cave of Machpelah. Afterward, Isaac settles at Beer-lahai-roi. Ishmael, the son of Abraham, well, he has 12 sons, all of them princes and leaders of tribes, and he dies at the age of 137. Now, his sons settled on both sides of the Red Sea, and we're told that they lived in hostility toward all the tribes related to them. Now, that's in Genesis 25:18. Now check out Isaac's descendants. At first, Rebekah is barren, but Isaac prays for her, and she conceives twins. But the twins, they wrestle in Rebekah's womb until she prays to the Lord in distress. Now in Genesis 25:23, the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. Now Esau was born first, and then Jacob. Now in that culture, the firstborn inherits everything from his father. But Esau, he was a hunter, an explorer. Jacob, well, he took care of things at home. Esau despised his birthright. He ended up selling it to Jacob for a mere bowl of stew. In other historical writings of the period, Jacob stands out as being the direct forefather of all the Israelites. In fact, God renamed Jacob Israel, not once but twice. Now that symbolized that Jacob wasn't just a man, but the essential link to the land of Israel itself. The authors of the first millennium viewed this land as the ultimate prize. So the biblical narrative, well, it ensures that Jacob would inherit the land. Now, next week, we'll cover what's the deal with Abraham's son Isaac, claiming his wife was his sister. You know, the same deceit used by Abraham.